Welcome to the Intercut podcast channel, the weekly place to hear the latest on movies, TV, and entertainment that people can't cut away from. I'm your co-host, Zachary Shevich, and joining me, you can call him Howie the way he's finding these uncut gems. It's Arturo Zurita.
And also an Emmy loser. Or I should say, happy Chalamet to you too, Zachary Shevich.
Chalamet. Very good. Thank you much. Thank you very much. Also, with shining bright like a diamond, we're standing next to Rihanna, aka Amanda the Jedi. What's going on, Amanda?
Not much. Just trying to get back into the swing of things after the holidays, you know.
Yeah, I hope everybody's well rested, well fed, getting ready to start the new year off on the right note. We are starting our new year off by looking backwards at 2024. Not quite yet ready to let it go, because there are some hidden gems, movies that are underloved, underseen, underrated, underappreciated, and we want to make a point of getting them their just due on this show. You know, we always like to uncover films that are maybe not getting a lot of noise in the mainstream or enough attention, and gems that we find on the festival circuit or just, you know, little Tubi releases or VOD releases. So we've got some of our favorites from the past 12 months for all of y'all. We were trying to figure out like what's a good definition of underrated, and I liked you throwing out the idea of if it has less than 100,000 logs on Letterboxd, that's probably something that's flying under the radar for most people.
That's a numerical version I've seen for Letterboxd. You would have a different one for IMDb. You and I covered this enough to see like there's different audiences depending on who goes to what platform, but many times you have a movie that you know so much about, and then you realize there's a world outside film Twitter. There's stuff that exists out there, and I think we all kind of have our own barometers. I use my mom, I use my brother, cousins and such. If they know us about something, if they don't know, that usually it gives me the engagement of like, okay, you aren't, traveling to Sundance or keeping up on Just Watch for all these movies. But at the end of the day, the funny part about this video is we've already talked about every single one of these if you are subscribed to the Intercut podcast. So we're very curious to know what y'all's are, what your definitions of it would be. Because my other thing would be is it's also a matter of like what you can put on people's radar in terms of, I'd say more comfortability. Like there are hidden gems that people may not have heard of that can make them more interested into the hidden gems that it's not that they didn't hear about them. It's not usually their cup of tea. You and I have expanded the genres we watch, the directors we watch, because of those small steps you take. So sometimes, we were looking at people's lists and they weren't really hidden gems, but they were to them because it's the first time they caught a Challengers. It's the first time they caught a Sean Baker movie with Honora. Their hidden gems end up becoming more and more obscure the more movies they watch. So hopefully by the end of this, we not just put more movies on your radar, but have a new must-watch pick for you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's couldn't be the higher compliment for us if we can put a movie on your radar that you will then end up loving. So that's what we're really hoping to do with this list. Amanda, a lot of movies to choose from. What were some of the things you were looking for in making your selections for the Hidden Gems episode?
First, it was just trying to find things that I hadn't really talked about a lot in other episodes that we've done here. But then I realized that, a lot of people, they do just seek out hidden gems lists, and they're not going to go through the best of lists. They're not going to go back and watch the Sundance list. They're not going to watch all that. So I just kind of, in the last 10 minutes, became a free-for-all for anything that came out this year that I felt just kind of got underrepresented. There's definitely some like very strong, like this is very much an underrated movie. There's some that we've noticed they're picking up steam in the last little bit. There's some that have kind of hit that darling status, that the more people find it, the more they enjoy it. A strange darling status, if you will. There's some that we've seen so long ago that finally came out that we just didn't realize necessarily or kind of forget about to get it back on it. And honestly, some of these, I might mention things that are on my best of the year list because they're still hidden.
Y'all have not found them.
You have not found them, even though some of them
this
have
is
Rachel
an Amber Alert
Sennett
for
in
cinema.
them.
It is true. They have been hidden, but hopefully after this video, they will be found.
They will be found.
Exactly, and we will reveal all the hidden gems we've uncovered in just a moment. But first, we Should mention that if you're not subscribed to the Intercut podcast, make sure you're subscribed either to the video podcast here on YouTube at youtube.com/intercutpod or the audio podcast available on most podcatchers. Also, follow Intercut on social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram. We are at Intercut Pod. That's Intercut Pod, and that's short for podcast. You can also support the show for as little as $3 a month here on YouTube by clicking the join button on our page to become a member or going to patreon.com/intercutpod and signing up to join the Intercuties, where you get early access to episodes like this one, the ability to help us decide future episodes of the show, and an invitation to our monthly Intercutie video chats, the next one of which is coming up pretty soon. Also, be sure to leave us some of those 5-star reviews, those juicy 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, because if we do get to 250 5-star reviews, we'll go out to your local jeweler and help find some hidden gems for you. On your dime. I can't pay.
You can't make something. You can't say something like that. You can't say something like that.
All right.
Disclosure at the bottom.
Yeah, things that I say in the midst of a podcast recording are not legally binding. Anyway, let's kick off the hidden gems list. I've got a few different categories for mine, so I'll start it off with some of the more dramatic installments on my list. For one, I have Janet Planet, a movie that I first encountered at the New York Film Festival, a really tender film from the playwright turned filmmaker Annie Baker that follows a young child who comes home during the summer living with her single mother, and just sort of the mutual tension between them as, for this young girl, her mom, Janet, is her whole world, her whole planet. But as she's growing up, there's sort of an increasing divide and discomfort there. I feel like for me, it's one of the truest visions I've seen of being an only child, and kind of a perfect fit for a list like this one, because it's a smaller movie, a quieter movie, not exactly the kind of splashy movie that makes a lot of best of lists, but something that will hopefully resonate with a lot of people. So I got that one. I also wanted to shout out Between the Temples as I pull up my earmuffs from last year's Sundance Film Festival. They're a little too small for my head, but I'll keep them as set decoration. Starring my boy, Jason Schwartzman, who is excellent in the role. I feel like both he and Carol Kane are utilized to the best of their abilities. They're able to be silly and a bit melancholic and a little bit cantankerous and prickly as well in Nathan Silver's movie about sort of this sort of late in life coming of age for the both of them. Really sweet, and then has one of the great final scenes of the year, in my opinion, with that dinner table scene.
And a great role player too in Dolly, who had a killer year at Sundance. And one of the dinner scenes that you're referring to as well was also she steals it. It's really good.
Yeah, she's excellent in it. I thought you were going to mention Triumph the Insult Comic Dog, a.k.a. Robert Smigel, who plays the rabbi in that movie.
We laughed, and Zach said, "You know who that rabbi is, right?" I was like, "I ain't go to temple with him." I don't. He's like, "Bro, no." Put a cigar. Imagine him as a dog. I was like, "Absolutely no way." But if Triumph was my rabbi, I would go. Hey, I would go more than the lady was in the movie, because he was pretty funny.
Yeah, he's so hysterical in it. One of the more widely seen movies that I have on my hidden gems is an animated movie from Netflix, but I feel like this one is getting a bit overlooked in terms of the animated films that came out this year, and wanted to shout out Orion and the Dark, which I thought was the really lovely family film, particularly because, you have a script here that comes from Charlie Kaufman, who is no stranger to challenging the structural definitions of certain films. He really loves to kind of subvert your expectations and kind of explode film structures in some ways. And, there's this element to the film about how stories get passed down within families that I found to be one of the most profound things I've seen in an animated children's movie. Really, really delightful, heartwarming ending. I would have had Pure O on my list because Arturo had that in his top 10 of the year. I feel like that was an even bigger shout than we'd give it here. But
But you got it.
Yeah, well, worth at least mentioning because we were looking it up. There's only 214 logs of this movie on Letterboxd, and
Inner Cuties make up 213. It's just the director who logged it outside of us.
You joke, but it's like literally 10 people in the Intercut family. We're 5% of this movie's audience. It's pretty ridiculous. Hopefully we can increase that number. Let's go to a full 50% of the Puro audience.
Let's do it.
My last two dramas, though, I'm pairing together because they're both films that came out really late in the year, so they might be a little bit cheating to include them since not a lot of people have had the chance to see them. I kind of feel like they're both not getting marketed nearly enough considering how satisfying they are as sports underdog stories. I have Unstoppable and The Fire Inside. Unstoppable is probably the more by the numbers of the pair of them. The story of Anthony Robles, who became a college wrestling champion despite only having one leg. And he's played incredibly by Jarrell Jerome in this film in what is a beautiful performance that requires such incredible physicality. It's a really, really compelling story and has this incredible performance from Jerome at the center of it. I think maybe the better of the two movies, though, is The Fire Inside, which is Rachel Morrison's feature film debut as a director. It comes from a script from Barry Jenkins, and it has this, kind of traditional sports underdog story with a completely subversive third act that challenges your expectation for these kinds of things and really does a great job of telling you Clarissa Shields' story, the story of the first American woman to gold medal at boxing in the Olympics. Both are pretty traditional Hollywood-style films that I feel like could find a wide audience if they were getting pushed, but neither really seems to be getting that kind of push from their studio.
Yeah.
Did you see both of these or only Unstoppable?
I saw Unstoppable at Chicago. I like his performance. I think it could have been a little stronger. They're both MGM, which I find surprising.
Yeah.
Amazon.
Stepping on their own toes or something with those releases.
Unstoppable, I don't think is out yet. They're going to be rolling it out probably in January, but Fire Inside is in theaters, and I thought it was coming out to Prime the entire time. So I can't imagine everybody else who was like, this was not on anyone's radar for a Christmas release. They went to go see a bunch of other movies, so I don't know what MGM's on. And they also ruined Nickel Boys, which is one that you can consider an under-the-radar gem because they won't. That's not a hidden gem. That's they hid that one completely. Yeah,
you can't watch it unless I only.
That one's not even our fault.
I had to be blessed to see that one.
So, there's a couple of picks like that where because they're festival releases, to me, a lot of hidden gems are just stuff that get lost in the bunch because of the way that they're distributed.
Definitely. Arturo, or it's actually Amanda, why don't you go next? Can you hit us with a couple gems from your list?
I guess I'll start with some of the horror movies, which is most of my list is those. So starting with a little French-Canadian gem called Humanist Vampire Seeking Consenting Suicidal Human. This is a vampire who doesn't really want to do the things that vampires are supposed to do. So her way of trying to find an ethical way to go about doing this is find somebody who's willing. And it ends up being this kind of like really beautiful, quirky little thing. Then we got Your Monster, which stars Melissa Barrera of the Scream movies, which might be surprising to people who know my thoughts on the new Scream movies, but she's really good in this. I think this is like such a good role for her. I had a lot of fun with this movie. It's just like this weird little thing where she has her whole life basically blows up and she has to go stay at her mom's place while her mom's out of town, and her childhood, monster under the bed kind of comes back out, and they have this quirky little rom-com going on, and it's very fun. Next one is one that we're still not, it's definitely under a lot of people's radars, but I think it's definitely becoming a little bit of the indie darling, or at least like the small circuit darling, with Strange Darling, starring the boy Kyle Gallner and Willa Fitzgerald. I mentioned this in the best of the year list just kind of as an honorable mention, but it is just really good. It's told non-linearly. When you kind of figure out one thing that's going on, it then brings you back again to show you another layer that's going on. So it just makes for a really fun watch. Then we have Monolith, which was one we saw like a couple years ago at this point, which was just this really kind of like chilling and quirky, not even quirky, but just this like it's this woman. She's a podcaster, but she kind of starts unintentionally or intentionally uncovering this alien conspiracy, and everything is just so weird and interesting. And she's like, there's like a desperation to her trying to like revamp her career while it's happening. And I just remember being like so taken by the vibes of it, where it's essentially just kind of this one woman thing. And you're just kind of listening to her interacting through audio. Yeah, apparently we would have seen this back in 2022, which is kind of insane.
Yeah, damn. That movie is...
Three.
Was it 3?
No, it says 2022.
Yeah, we saw it in the third one.
Did we see it in 2023? That makes sense. Okay, so this one's been chilling for a while before it actually came out, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good one, and that conspiratorial tone is the thing that is so good about it, because I think the way that like a good conspiracy theory starts to work on your paranoia, this movie has that same feeling.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
That year also had that doc, remember, where they like investigated the one person who made their crime story, and they're like, you didn't follow any guidelines here, and you kind of ruined more people for your podcast. So it was like an interesting year, and I thought the way they handled this one, especially
Citizen
during a
Sleuth
COVID year.
was that movie.
Yeah, Citizen Sleuth.
Good call right there.
Yeah.
It was a good double feature there.
It's a very good one. And then I think I'm gonna go with Sleep, which was directed by, I believe it's Bong Joon-ho's like not assistant, something like that, producer, someone involved with Bong Joon-ho. I'm totally blank on who, but Jason Yu. Just this weird, chaotic, like small horror movie, anxiety ridden, with this couple kind of descending into madness when one person kind of starts like saying things in their sleep. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I just remember being kind of like pretty entertained by that one. Oh yeah, it's him. He starts talking in his sleep, right? It's the husband.
Yes,
Husband starts talking in his sleep. Yeah. So this is another one of those ones that took a while to come out. But yeah, Zach, what are you?
No, I was just looking up the Bong Joon-ho thing.
Oh,
he
thank you.
was his right-hand man during the filming of Okja.
Right-hand man. Okay, I was like, I know it was somebody who was like very involved in some part.
Yeah, it
of
calls him a
something.
mentor.
I love that. It's so cute.
The movie's solid.
The movie's
It is
solid.
a messed up movie. Yeah.
Messed up,
It's good.
sleepwalking stuff, just very unsettling in a way that like I find that, a lot of Asian horror around that vicinity only is like they're the only people who really managed to do it that well. And then the last one I'm going to mention here is one that has really just been like ramping up in popularity, but I would still consider it under the radar. And it's Red Rooms, another French-Canadian little ditty. They're putting out really good ones. This one it's also very chilling. The whole atmosphere of it is insane. You get this like very kind of like strict character who has a very particular way of being, but she is, seemingly obsessed with this like serial killer. And it's just like, as it's like going through and you're seeing what she's doing and the things that actually excite her and the things that actually seem to make her feel things. And then what she ends up doing with that is interesting. There's like one of the scenes in this movie is literally one of the most like, whoa, what are you doing? It's very, very good.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely easy recommend Red Rooms.
All three of those final films you mentioned, Monolith, Sleep, and Red Rooms, are excellent at giving you just that feeling of like, maybe you shouldn't be watching this. Something's wrong, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Red Rooms is literally like the whole thing is the guy was arrested because he was killing people in red rooms, which are like the dark web. You pay somebody a lot of money to do things to them and kill them, which seems outlandish, but is definitely out there. Like those definitely exist. People have too much money and not enough anything. People get bored in weird ways, so that is definitely a thing. So it does just definitely feel like it's like you're kind of voyeuring in on something that you shouldn't be.
Yeah, and that's one of those like great feelings that a film can give you of that discomfort and that skin tingling sensation.
Yeah,
so all three are great
it doesn't show
picks.
things, but it'll play audio of things, and then you're like, oh my god, the person at the beginning of this movie just in great detail described what's happening to these people, and now I'm hearing it.
To me, it's even less. To me, it's even less those elements of it, but the slow reveal of everything in all three of those movies, because it's like they're all about a thing, but just sort of giving you little glimpses of it, and they leave you like questioning whether or not you even want to see the thing. And I think it's a strong element of all three of those movies you mentioned.
Absolutely.
So great picks. Art, you want to take a couple, or should I go again? Cool.
I got to give a shout out, Red Rooms. I'm blanking on my LME listener's name, but he's the one who put it on my radar when I was so pissed off with Tarot. I then
then
told
you
it
put
to
it on
Zach.
my
We
radar?
then put it to you.
You guys
So
both
yeah,
did?
you never know
Yeah.
where it starts from. One guy took
Yeah.
my frustration and said, "Here, buddy,
Yeah,
seek
how
out
did
this
I
one. You'll
not
like
hear
it more."
about a movie that came from my country? I don't understand.
It's a fantastic one.
Yeah.
It's really messed up. I'll start with horror in that sense because we had some pretty good movies last year that I would have put like Oddity, which that
Great
was when
one.
I was seeking out. I remember we got the link, immediately sent it to you guys. But
Yeah.
there's been other horrors like In Flames, which came out at TIFF. That barely came out. And that's a horror
see it.
movie that takes place in India where they're being haunted not so much by a ghost, but by an individual who used to be in their lives. And I thought that was a very great way to showcase that. When Lee was on our podcast, he put Lowlifes. I don't know if you've heard of this one.
I haven't caught it yet though.
This one is pitched to you. I wish I could describe the movie that it reminds me of, but it will ruin the entire thing. You go into this and you don't realize what it's going to hit you with a family who's going through the, I want to say like the Midwest, and it's these different spots that they're hitting. And as they hit each and every single spot, you start learning more and more about this journey. Put that one on your radar if you have not heard of it. But my super, super, super secret pick is Milk and Cereal.
Oh.
See, we got hidden gems, but it ain't
Yeah.
a hidden
Yeah.
gem if I can get these two stumped.
Yeah.
No.
Cereal
You brought this up on the podcast. I remember.
It's a YouTube short
don't-
from a dude who just put
it's
it
a YouTube
together.
short.
Stars in it, is in it. It's on
Nice.
Letterboxd, IMDb. He independently made this movie.
Yeah, that wasn't shade. That was just kind of like,
And he's
it's not a
too
full-
good in it because
Nice.
you realize that these pranksters are trying to make a prank go super viral, and one of them may be taking it too far to the extreme. So if you need a horror hidden gem, I've got Oddity, In Flames, Lowlifes, but Milk and Cereal was one that surprised me the most, and I'm very curious to see what this guy does for his
And
next
for
one.
those curious, it's cereal spelt like serial killer, so it's a little play on
Nice.
words there.
On thrillers, everyone's been talking about Last Stop in Yuma County.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Beast, I think, is the festival
The
circuit
Beast,
one
The
that
Beast,
not a
yeah.
lot of people
Yeah.
have really engaged with, and that movie messes up. I've never seen a movie glitch
People
out.
didn't like it at TIFF. People didn't like it at TIFF.
Screw
So
them. This
I
is an
know that's
interesting
why
pick.
though. Yeah.
And I think sometimes the hidden gems may be a flavor people don't like.
No, true.
That's what that is.
That's exactly it,
Coup
yeah.
was another one, or Coup, I should say, because I keep saying Coup. Coup came out this year with an exclamation point, and it was like, it has a pretty good cast with Sarsgaard and the such. And it's playing off of the pandemic from the early 1900s. And you see it kind of play off here, almost in a Saltburn way where they're trying to take over a house.
Yeah, you were saying
my-
like people who like the menu probably would dig Coup, right?
Yeah, because I'm one who's more iffy on the menu, and I felt like this relied more on the stuff that the menu was going for.
Okay.
Whereas the menu you were more with the rich people, I felt. But that's a discussion for another day. Starring Jerry as himself. If y'all need a thriller, let me offer you this hybrid documentary where Jerry gets screwed over all of his money. And I believe it's his family who decide to document it after the fact. And he stars as himself as they try to get to the bottom of who screwed him over. There's a lot of good movies like that this year. Thelma, which just
Oh,
cracked
yeah,
the
Thelma.
100K, right? Where people really want to join elderly people in this like comeback revenge tale. And starring Jerry as himself is definitely that under the radar pick. Comedy-wise, Late Bloomers. Zach came out of
Yeah.
this movie at
Yeah.
South by, said it was one of the best he had seen.
I know that
And my
came
man never
out.
talked about it again, but it's a hidden gem from this year. It
Didn't know it came out.
on VOD randomly earlier on in the year, and
Very sweet.
one of
Karen
the
Gillan's
actresses doesn't even speak English, and she has some of the most pivotal roles because it's two people who are kind of codependent on each other after going off the deep end, and one who doesn't have someone to take care of her. But I thought that was a really good movie. People's Joker was another under the radar pick that after all that copyright got picked up by Criterion. And then I'll give my dramas. Chronicles of a Wandering Saint was my favorite movie coming out of South by. That is sitting on Vudu. It did not get a theatrical release, but it's a beautiful movie about all the lights that flicker around you. Is that an afterlife that's trying to interact with you? A Normal Family came out of TIFF, and it's a playoff of two families who end up intersecting with each other, and they have to either work together to help their kids who have caused an accident, or try to see if they could pin it on the other family faster. And then the final one that I'll pick here is a movie called Nowhere Special. It took like 5 years to release this because you'll see it's got a 2020 date on there.
Damn.
This guy based a true story of a kid who was suffering from cancer, and it's the father who stayed there for him. I had heard rumblings of this movie here and there. I was like, okay, we'll see when it comes out. This has no business pulling at your heartstrings the way it does. This is one of those that when it hits Netflix or an actual streamer, it's going to kill. and the people who watch it they're gonna act like it's a brand new movie because no one's heard of this one. There was something else that the main guy had worked on this year.
Umberto Pasolini, the director. Yeah, he did The Return, that Ray Fiennes Odyssey movie.
And that one got to theaters, right? Over this one. Hey, he should have put all the chips in for this one because it is a hit. Everyone who has seen it, if they're able to, has loved it. And I think it's one of the best hidden gems that I've caught of the year.
Very
Let me give you
cool.
a happy one because that one's sad. Chicken for Linda. Good animation.
Yeah. I've heard
it's on
great things
Criterion.
about that one. The same composer who just won a Golden Globe for Emilia Perez composed on Chicken for Linda, right?
They should have given it for chicken.
All right, should I hit you with a couple comedies while we're on a happier note?
Shoot.
Yeah.
Going back to South by Southwest, where I feel like a lot of the movies that we're talking about came from, Babes just kind of came and went with absolutely no fanfare. I thought this was going to be like a big return for Alana Glazer, who is absolutely hilarious in Broad City and maybe a little less hilarious in her project since then, but very hilarious in this one, a story of a unexpected single mother, her pregnancy story, along with her relationship with her best friend, who is herself a mother of two, and kind of the evolving adult friendship dynamic between them. You know, I feel like there was a lot of like consternation of over Night Bitch in the past couple months and how inventive or funny or necessary that movie is. Babes, I feel like was a much fresher take on motherhood and navigating that situation. Just really funny.
More consistent for sure, yeah.
Yeah. Don't know why that one got almost no fanfare earlier this year. I guess, yeah, sometimes they just drop a movie. But this one, did it like go straight to Hulu or like almost straight to Hulu?
They had a Mother's Day release that they botched. They were only doing it at Alamo Draft Houses. No one's taking their mama to Alamo Draft Houses. And then they released it very limited Memorial Day weekend in Hulu by the summer, nonchalantly. But people have liked it. It got a little pushback from the trailer. It wasn't a well-cut trailer, in my opinion, the way that they pitched it. But we all loved it out of Sundance or South by. And hey, I agree with you on the other projects that she's made, but I think she had the better stand-up over Michelle this year. I don't know if you got to catch both of them, but
I didn't.
I was impressed with Alana's. Way better than the last one.
Very cool. Good to know. I circle back to that one as well. Have you guys caught up with Rap World?
Not yet.
Accidentally. I did. Because I asked you, I know it was on YouTube.
Damn. So jealous.
Alina walked in on me. I had to apologize. Tell him.
This is one of the most deranged movies of the year. It is just barely a feature at 56 minutes long.
Because of time. Yes, because of time.
Well, yeah, that's the only reason it's just barely a feature. This is a hilarious film from the mind of Connor O'Malley about a few friends living in suburban Pennsylvania who are doing like a behind the scenes documentary of themselves as they form a rap group. And it goes about as well as that sounds. It is just a really interesting window back into the time, like right before cameras became a toxic element of social life. You know, when like people didn't quite yet know how to perform for the camera, or rather like self-censor themselves for the camera. So it has all these just like really funny moments of people kind of like showing off in a very juvenile but like Arrested Development sense. All these people on the verge of adulthood or acting like adults. It's a movie about dudes who hang out in parking lots. As a dude who's spent some time hanging out in a parking lot, it really rang true. It's not the funniest thing I've ever seen from Connor O'Malley, but it does have a couple of the funniest moments I can remember from Connor O'Malley movie. The whole sequence where they keep like picking up the gun and posing with it is so stupid, but so funny. And this one's on YouTube.
What's the stand-up called?
Standup Solutions. That's probably my favorite stand-up special from the year.
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll put Rap World on there. It was a very interesting one. Zach's been putting me on to a bunch of his shorts. The Mask one I remember you told me about last year.
Oh, The Mask is so good.
You like that one. There was another one, I can't remember what it was, but the one that clicked to me the most was stand-up special. I have it in my top 3 specials of the year.
Let's go.
I watched it twice through. It's the commitment to the bit, right? I like comedy even if they're not doing the funniest punchlines. I like seeing a performer go up there and Martin had the Steve Martin doc this year talked a lot about that, where you just have to build the scenario. He builds the scenario so well. I remember you pitched it. You're going to know the line right off the bat. Being ashamed that his future son will have
a better shopping experience because of all the data that they're collecting on him. He's so jealous of his son. It's like about he plays the character of this like tech bro optimist who sees the tech infiltration of our lives as a great thing, and just that energy is so hilarious.
It's like stand up, but he's doing a pitch meeting with you while accidentally pouring out his heart as a therapist. It's so dumb and ridiculous. That's when it works the best for me. And I can't recommend that one enough, but if that interests you, Rap World may be up your list too. But that man has got to be one of the hardest working people working today. We didn't have him as, did we have him as a guy?
I mean, he's my guy, but I don't know if he's our guy. Like, if y'all want to embrace him, then he'll be on the 2025 list.
He's been working very hard. We got to give him the due diligence. And then he's been in theatrical stuff too.
Yeah. Also had one of the funniest talk show appearances this year on Seth Meyers.
What did he do? Wait, what did he do, bro? Was this when he called him out about being his employee?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I even know this one. Yeah. He goes, yeah, you got me fired or something like that.
It's really good. It's really good stuff.
He was like, please tell them you're kidding. They don't know you're humor.
Rap World, one of my hidden gems from the year, but the comedy that got the least amount of views that I want to throw on this list, I've mentioned it a couple times. I got to show a little more love to The Gutter, the absolutely hilarious film from the Lester brothers that I saw at South by Southwest. This is a completely ridiculous film about a guy who joins the professional bowling circuit in order to help save the local bowling alley from closing down. It stars Shamik Moore, who is maybe a bit of a controversial figure post Haley Steinfeld getting engaged. He plays an overly horny dude who wants to have sex with everyone, so it doesn't seem like that big of a stretch for him. He's very funny in this movie. He refuses to wear his shirt, and he wants to get sponsored, so he puts Pornhub stickers all over his body, like how NASCAR ads have ads all over their jumpsuits. It's just
sometimes people really aren't acting.
Really,
Bro, I saw this the day before the Spider actress put out that eviscerating video on the man, and I was like,
she's
wow.
eating soup. Well, she's eating
Amanda,
soup.
have you seen this yet? I can't think of a worse movie to have that portrayal in after the events that happened to him.
It is quite damning.
I had
you
I
did
had
not
a
tell me
link
how
and I
insane
kept forgetting
he was.
to watch it.
Because your girl, scot-free. Even with some misses for me, but what's her
Darcy
name?
Carden, yeah, she's so they are a very funny pair in this movie.
You know it's bad when she's a psychopath. Like she is an alcoholic who just goes to the bowling alley, and she's the one who has to tell his character, bro. It was. I'm not gonna lie. There's some funny parts in there. That man was rough. His opening scene is an interview where he sexually harasses the person interviewing him.
No.
And she goes, "Well, I ain't got nothing else. Go ahead."
It is very ridiculous and very, very stupid. It also is like kind of barely a movie. Like, I don't know if there's 3-act structure so much as there's just lots and lots of bits. But like, I laughed at least half of them. There's random lines like, "Tell me what you're thinking. Why do ghosts haunt people? Why don't they do anything helpful like chores? If I don't succeed at something immediately, I'm through. That's why I can't read." Like, there's just so many stupid lines in this movie.
Yeah.
I particularly like when he's losing an important game and the emotional music kicks in, and as he's watching Susan Sarandon bowl, he whispers, "If you win, you have to have sex with me."
Dude, there was that one where Darcy says something to him, and he's dry as can be. Cut to her, cut back, and he's drenched in tears. They hit it off with those, but there's just some context and subtext to some of these jokes. There was so much, too much.
So I don't know, maybe a 4D experience if you're looking for like a "it ends with us" fix. Maybe this can solve that. But I laughed a lot, and I think you might too at The Gutter. Not a lot of people have watched it. Amanda, you want to Reel off a couple more.
Yeah. For a comedy, I'll mention Snack Shack. I think Art mentioned a little bit in the best of, but it's just solid. It's got Gabriel LaBelle. That's his name. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he had like the really big.
Our guy, Gabriel LaBelle.
Yeah, so he had the really big Saturday Night's his big one for this year.
Where he's 31.
But it's
And here he's
yeah. But this one's
18?
this one's really fun.
15.
But he looks it too. Like he looks like
No,
baby. He
he's
doesn't
the
look
boy.
31.
He looked good yesterday too in the Globes
baby.
too. He looked clean.
He did. He does. Yeah, no, he's I just think it's fun. He's kind of like he's like the ingenuity friend, but he makes him a little bit of a dick. So he's got a best friend who at some point it kind of gets a little bit, rough between the two of them. But it's like the bromance collapse.
Totally. Like, this is not as inappropriate as that movie, but it's got a little bit of like a Superbad vibe in terms of the like these high school friends in a moment of transition. I really, really enjoyed this one. I first caught it in flight, and I pretty quickly realized this is too good of a movie for me to be watching in flight.
But sometimes those are the best ones. Like you're trapped there. What else are you going to do except watch the movie?
True.
But yeah, I like the vibe that it's like, you have that friend that it's like everything's a disaster, but they always seem to make it work. But then it eventually hits the thing that they can't get past until they manage to get past it, which is nice. Kind of continuing on the comedy side, we saw that it's actually getting quite a bit of love, and maybe not quite a bit enough yet, is Kneecap, which we caught at last year's Sundance, which is a very fun kind of biopic, but not biopic, played by the actual people of this Irish band, Kneecap, who are really big on preserving the Irish language and kind of how they came to be and what they fight for there. We then got to witness them not showing up to South by Southwest to protest military sponsorship. So, they preach what they practice, or they practice what they preach. They put it there, which is good.
Obama didn't put this on his list, did he?
No.
Unlikely.
It was, and then the advisors made
They
him.
took him out. They're like,
They took him
"Hey,
out. They're
that
like,
doesn't
you
work."
knew this work.
Wanted to avoid a
ask me a
Lucy
question?
Dacus situation.
Zach asked me a question earlier in the year when Joker 2 came out because the film festival deemed that movie, let's see if I remember the correct word, punk rock? This, I think you guys would agree, is the actual literal punk rock movie.
It's literally,
of the year.
it's great. It's like Irish rap, but very aggressive in a very punk way.
Yeah.
Very
The
good.
best timeline would see Kneecap getting into the Best Original Score Oscars race. I know it got
Literally.
shortlisted, but hopefully they make it all the way there.
Yeah, it's cool.
out
that it got,
Fast Bender.
I'm surprised it got shortlisted,
Same.
which is very cool. This year's kind of been kind of good with some surprise nominations in areas, and then kind of familiar in bad ways.
It's on Netflix in the U.S. at least, so I think some people are starting to
nice.
discover it more through that.
Very cool. I didn't know that. That's sick. Then this was literally the number 2 on my list, but it's still underseen. And it's I Used to Be Funny, starring Rachel Sennett, another Canadian movie. We do good movies here. But this one is so incredibly funny for how brutal the subject matter is. And the writing is so perfect. I don't know many people who could toe that line as well as Rachel managed to in this movie. And I think it just really speaks to this idea of like kind of trying to deal with things through comedy, and then what happens when you can't do the thing that makes you because of something that happened, and how like horrible that can be, and kind of finding your way out of it. It's great. I recommend it heavily. I already mentioned Kneecap, so then we're gonna venture over to some weird stuff. Art already mentioned Last Stop in Yuma County. That is just kind of one of those, it's quirky, funny, but also brutal and bleak in so many ways. Then Self-Reliance is kind of another one of those weird, goofy ones where what's his last name? Jake
Johnson.
State Farm.
Jake Johnson, Jake from State Farm, Jake Johnson, and Anna Kendrick, actually. And it's just kind of this thing where this guy agrees to be on this weird game show where he's basically got to try to survive people trying to kill him, but he can't
Be alone.
Can't be alone.
That's
yeah,
the bit,
second, yeah, that's the bit. But like, no one obviously believes that. So I thought it was really fun.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. Also,
It's funny.
2 best cameos of the year, which I
Yes.
think
Yes.
one gets spoiled in the trailer.
Yes,
Potentially.
the first one does, but the second one is not. But
Okay, cool.
absolutely hilarious. And Jake Johnson's directorial debut.
Yes, that's it too, that he directed it. So I thought that one was really fun. It's one I haven't had a chance to revisit yet, but I liked it a lot. Hulu, yeah, we don't have that here, but that means Disney Plus, I think, in Canada. So that was really fun. And then Didi. Didi was one we all really resonated with. I think that is one of the ones that, like, it's finding some people, but probably still not enough people. If you were kind of around in 2009 and under the age of 25, it's probably going to hit quite a bit. You know, it opens and you've got like Motion City soundtrack songs and a Riot poster on the wall. And it's just like, I'm here, I'm in it. Really amazing performances there as well. I feel bad I'm blanking on the mom's name, but she had
Joan Chen.
Joan Chen. Yeah. Okay. The thing was, it was messing me up because I was thinking June Squibb, Joan Chen. Yes. But yeah, no, that one, Didi's really good. And yeah, I think that's where I'll leave it.
The aim combos. That's when you knew they were in that pocket.
Yeah.
Just a straight vein to nostalgia. Like that movie a lot. Didi,
Yeah.
Great pick. All right, I got 3 more on my list that I don't think Art's going to have. Art, you want to do a couple more, or should I hit us with those 3?
I have your 3, so you told me. You want to go first? You want me to go?
I'll go first because I actually don't think you got these 3.
Ooh, okay. Interested.
The first one that I'm pretty confident you don't have is another musical in a year full of musicals.
You're right. Runaway. It's your Absolutely not. I don't even want it to be. Although, believe it or not, I think it has some of the best performances.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, I think even though you didn't end up enjoying the end from Joshua Oppenheimer, you saw some of its qualities. I think this is a really particular film. It's a musical set after the apocalypse in a rich family's bunker, and it is not really dealing too much with the world outside. It's just kind of like a domestic drama of sorts. But I think there's a lot of really smart emotional storytelling here in the way that it uses the musical form to kind of curtail emotions, songs that don't reach their climax because the characters aren't willing to emotionally go to those places and stuff like that. It's a really cleverly constructed film with a lot of that brings up a lot of really thought-provoking ideas about the future and people in positions of power's willingness to accept their own culpability for bad things that happen. I think there's so much fascinating about this movie. Even though I'm not exactly humming any of the songs, I think it's definitely a gem from this year.
You watch it and you want to discuss a lot about it, probably before jumping in to catch it again. But yeah, there's a lot of respect out of it because that's one hell of a documentarian. He makes the jump over, and the performances are good. Tilda, I'm still missing The Room Next Door, but her performance in this one is up there for me on my list. What's his name? Our boy... It's always Dickinson versus this kid. McKay?
Yeah.
McKay is...
McKay.
George McKay.
Yeah, George McKay. Yeah.
George McKay. He's solid as he always is. I'll take the B on this. I'll match you with another movie taking place in one room. His Three Daughters. That was a film out of TIFF. Took a minute to come out. It's on Netflix. I've been telling people I think these 3 are giving some of the best performances, and I guess if the Globes don't like it, then it don't matter.
In a just world, Netflix's money would be here.
Not Amelia Perez, absolutely.
For the awards push.
Sometimes you realize it's bad, but then you realize what they chose over it.
Yeah.
Well, but I knew it. They had preemptively chosen that because we saw His Three Daughters at last TIFF. It had a decent amount of screenings.
IMAX too, which I don't know why we saw it in IMAX, but
it was fine. Good. It was great, but it had a decent amount of screenings. It went right to the end of the festival, but it was still an average amount.
Good stars.
Amelia fucking Perez is out here with 13 screenings, not including press, I don't think.
11 noms, all this stuff. Yeah, it's
so
ridiculous.
So I was they knew going into it.
But I think what it is, this story about 3 sisters who are all together in this house when the dad might die, is that they didn't know who they were going to award. So I ask you guys, you got to pick one of the 3 superb actresses in here. Who are you picking?
Natasha Lyonne is the lead. You're left alone with her the most. Okay. In my opinion.
I think Natasha's the lead of these 3, but I think the person whose performance resonated with me the most was Elizabeth Olsen.
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with you guys. There's something about Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah.
There's something in her eyes. She disappeared into whatever this was.
Yeah, it was a lot more vulnerable than you're used to seeing from her, or just kind of soft-spoken vulnerability.
That's the other thing with it too, right? Like if I told you Natasha Lyonne's in this movie, like it's a Natasha Lyonne style part. If I tell you Carrie Coon's in this movie, it is kind of a Carrie Coon style part. Yeah. Even though she is an actress with a lot of range, it's kind of what you would maybe expect from her. This is not like a typical Elizabeth Olsen role. She has a different style of gentleness to her, and I thought it was pretty
almost like a naive innocence that eventually she starts letting go a bit to just be like, you don't see, I'm trying, like this is on purpose.
There's a history that all of them have, but when she's on screen, you can tell she's trying to hide it the most.
Yes,
she's got the most baggage there.
Yeah,
History Daughters. It's on Netflix. If you can get to catch it in theaters, I think it's one of the best performances to catch it on.
Absolutely. I'll give a quick shout out to a former guest of the podcast, Michael Felker, with his movie Things Will Be Different.
Yeah, of course. How did I forget that?
A fun time travel sci-fi bottle movie of sorts gem about a pair of siblings who travel through time to escape after going on a bank heist. A really cool mashing up of ideas and just a really surprising and cool movie, like a very cool movie. So definitely want to shout out Things Will Be Different.
Yeah.
Art, any others, or should I do my last one?
Trenque Lauqen. It got lost in the mix when I saw it at New York Film Festival 2 years ago. It got a botched release last year and finally hit it. Do you remember this? Do you know it?
Trenque Lauqen?
Trenque Lauqen.
2 words?
2 words. You look at this and you're like, it seems like everyone who's seen this 2-part, 3-hour epic has liked it, but they never released it until it finally got the streaming release. It's a thriller about a woman making this long expedition in order to be able to find some truth.
Thank you.
Trenque Lauqen right there.
I wasn't going to find that.
Hey, that's why it's a hidden gem. It's that hidden.
You can't even find
but add this one to your radar. Am I right? Is it Criterion? It's Criterion.
Oh, wow. Good for her.
This was one of, I think, in Alina's top 3 coming out of New York. So
nice.
And sometimes these, they take years to get it there. So
I always like Alina's picks.
Yeah.
Not when they're mine?
No, I like them when they're yours too. But I mean, like when you're like, this is one of Alina's favorites, and I'm like,
now I really gotta see it.
I'm not gonna tell you which ones are her picks. That I want to see.
No. But I always just mean that, like, she's like. She always picks. Yeah, she always picks the one that's like you wouldn't think it was going to be good, and then she's like, "I think it's going to be good," and then you watch it, and it was like, it was good.
Nice. Always love a guest spot from Alina. All right, so one more that I'll go with here, and it's another one that's got less than 1,000 logs on Letterboxd, so got to get on this one. Give it a little bit of love. The latest from director and editor Zach Clark. This movie's called The Becomers. I think it's a really cool kind of sci-fi, weirdo, romance comedy of sorts. It reminded me a bit of a movie that we watched at Sundance a couple of years ago, You Won't Be Alone, where Nomi Rapace sort of ends up part of like a body-switching vampire witch story, right?
They're body-swapping aliens.
Yeah,
apparently.
So in Becomers, they are body-swapping aliens who come to Earth and try to find each other by swapping between different bodies. And it is sort of like a comedy of manners of sort, as these aliens try to disguise themselves amongst the population and learn the ways and not reveal that they are aliens despite not knowing any of Earth's customs. So you have some of the like kind of goofy sci-fi interspecies dialogues going on. But then the movie takes some really crazy twists, because one of the interesting things about constantly swapping bodies is like you don't know the situation the body that you're swapping into is in the middle of, whether or not that is like a high stakes crime. So I'll just throw that out there as a little bit of a tease for this film.
Okay.
A pretty intriguing premise, a pretty unique blend of genres, and pretty fun movie as well. I like Zach Clark as a director. I think he makes pretty underrated films. So check out The Becomers. And need to wrap us up, Art?
Evil Does Not Exist needs more love. We all saw him go to the Oscars.
I always keep forgetting it came out.
Yeah, it's pretty good. La Cocina got a limited release. It's a really beautiful black and white movie. But I'll shout out our Indian inner cuties that are out there, because Indian cinephiles are probably one of the biggest audiences out there. They went home with nothing yesterday after pushing All We Imagine Is Light. But we've been seeing that. I think I saw Zach add a little bit more for the Weekend Must Watch that we'll be discussing this. But there is a big discussion on how to reach international movies. And when you're an international fan, will you even get these movies? And dude, shout out the Indian Inner Cuties. I can't think of anyone else who goes out of their way to try to scope out cinema like a lot of our international fans do. But last year they had a lot. Kill came out of TIFF, and that was a really good action film that took place on a train.
Is that technically this year? Did that only technically come out this year? Because Kill was on my list, and I thought you had already mentioned it. So, yeah,
no,
very
I mean,
good.
I didn't go to TIFF, so it came out this year. That one I thought was pretty solid as it played off the midnight one. Lost Ladies was TIFF last year and was gonna be the submission this year, where they're all already prearranged marriages, and on the train they all get swapped out. They all end up with the wrong woman. It is as goofy as it sounds, and this was up there as one of the ones that they were probably going to submit. And then the last one, Girls Will Be Girls.
Yeah.
I shouted this one out when people have been saying All I Imagine Is Light, which I think is a good movie. This has the lead actress, and I think it's an even better movie. Came out of Sundance as you're comparing and paralleling her and her daughter, and the way that they're kind of looking at their futures, not realizing the mom has become the way her mom was to her daughter. And the daughter may be going through the same thing her mom went through. Always a beautiful little story to see there between moms and daughters. But a lot of hidden gems. I'm curious to know what the Inner Cuties have as their favorite hidden gems. I always like seeing people who caught the movies from last year. Because like last year was Promised Land. It was a taste of things that we caught at Valentine's Day, which best Valentine's Day movie ever.
Yeah.
But then it's like lost in the shuffle. And I always like seeing when people are able to find one of those movies that did not get out. We know Brutalist is going to be on a lot of people's end year list for next year and stuff because of the rollout.
True.
Yeah, the foreign films in general, like you mentioned The Taste of Things, which was one of my favorites from last year.
So good.
Perfect Days was another one that sort of got caught in that in-between. But obviously that's a movie that people absolutely loved. And, you know, the foreign films in general, it becomes a little bit weird because I think some of them get like a minor Oscar run at the end of the year, but it's hard to see them. And then if they don't end up actually getting that Oscar nomination, who knows when we'll see them.
Hard Truths, right? Like that's about to come out.
Truths,
Is that not next year's or last year's?
It's
a lot
tough,
of good stuff. One of y'all had
I feel like Hard Truths is a hidden
Universal
gem if she doesn't get that Oscar nomination.
Yeah.
It's exactly. It's a lot of weird ones out there, but we'll see. I don't know. Things that I'm looking out for.
Did Seed of the Sacred Fig come out?
It's theatrical over here. And I would consider that,
I would consider that. That's a good one. I'm honestly, the only one I haven't seen.
All of those are.
Yeah, I haven't seen Vermiglio left yet, the Italian one, but every other non-English movie in the categories for Golden Globes is better than the one that won. So I would recommend those ones instead. But yeah, speaking of Perfect Days, that's how you make a movie when you don't speak the language.
That's another one. Yeah, I got that in
making,
February of this year.
Because you hire someone to help write that is of the country that you're trying to write a story about. That's what you do. But anyway, that one. So yeah, Perfect Days is very good. But if you haven't seen it, that'll be underrated gem this year. But yeah, All Me Imagine Is Light, Girl with the Needle, I'm Still Here, Seed of the Sacred Fig.
Girl with the Needle. Mm-hmm. Damn.
That's what I mean. Good year.
You got that one?
Yeah.
Because I know Caitlin hyped it up.
Yeah.
You got a con, no?
Yeah.
No. Well, not with Girl with the Needle. I have that.
Did you just mentioned I'm Still Here also though, right?
Yes,
that's another one.
That is also.
Yeah.
I watched it thanks to the generous access of a friend.
I don't know.
Sorry, but yeah, that's what I mean. Most people can't watch those yet. They can't watch them yet.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So we'll see what people's hidden gems are, and hopefully people can catch up with a lot of these movies as they become more widely available. Hopefully we're making sure they're on your radar as they start to become a little more widely available. In order to keep up with these movies, make sure you're staying tuned to the Intercut podcast. We'll always shout out the releases throughout the year as long as we're aware of them. Sometimes they like sneak drop them on these platforms.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with that.
And then being Canadian, you just don't find out that they're here.
Yeah.
You know, like it's rough.
Yeah.
Lucky Mara.
Oh yeah, Lucky Mara.
Yeah, that's another one that's kind of caught between years.
Years.
Yeah. A lot of great movies. If you're willing to look for them, you know, I think we got a comment being like, "Oh, 2024 wasn't a good year for movies." Like,
I thought it was a great year for movies.
Just gotta look. Yeah, you just gotta look. There's lots of movies out there.
It was one of the best we've had in recent memory. There's a little something for everyone. Really good year for horror and thrillers. Like if that's kind of your jam, great year.
For horror.
Great year for horror.
Incredible.
huge year
And
for
whatever
horror.
kind of horror you like, there's something out
They
there
had a
for you.
little bit of all,
A
yeah.
little bit of everything.
It was very good.
Yeah.
Mother
so I
couch,
think-
Zach.
Can we have a hidden duds?
I thought you were going to say keep it hidden.
duds. No, usually hidden duds. You don't want to. That's people trying. That's indie films. We don't like to be mean to indie films.
Yeah.
Unless they've done something particularly egregious, like apparently the one that Zach and everyone except me saw at TIFF this year, where it was just a lot of screaming.
Oh yeah, that I'm not even gonna mention that one.
That's what I mean.
it's
It's not
not-
worth
yeah.
it. You don't
Not
want to
worth
put
it.
it on people's radar
Coming out
accidentally.
online.
No, not yet. No, it's not coming out online because they
All right,
know.
I know what y'all talking about.
Know.
And if you're an cutie, you know what to stay away from.
Yeah, you know.
All right, so I think that just about does it for the 2024 Hidden Gems video. Thank y'all for tuning into all of our year-end coverage. A reminder, we got our best TV, best movies, anticipated. Our guys, lots of cool stuff on the channel. You can catch more from me personally by following. What's going on, Art? What do you miss?
If? Fuck off.
That's the last one I'm giving you.
It's the last one. It's the last one. It's a new year. I had to get one off, bro. Go.
You can find more from me across social media at ZShevich or wherever you find videos at Multiplex Show. Amanda, where can people find more from you?
You can find me mostly on YouTube, but on all over the place and Letterboxd at Amanda the Jedi. I'm also on Goodreads now, so if you want to see what I'm reading, you can follow me on Goodreads. I'm using it now.
There we go.
What's a good book right now?
Oh, don't ask me that. I just started. Like we're talking.
She
I
made
just
the
started.
account. She didn't start reading.
I just started using it. I'm rereading The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Oh, dang. I just went for a walk. Didn't put my watch on. The steps don't count.
Sometimes I won't walk if I'm not wearing my ring.
I
I feel like it's useless. I can't take the stairs.
it don't count.
It don't count.
Oh, so fire.
Arturo, where can people find more from you?
You can find me at Elmy Movies all over the place. Alina just rented out The Odyssey. We are starting off The Odyssey in all translations of The Odyssey, as they claim. But you can catch me every week here on the Intercut podcast.
You can listen to every episode of the Intercut podcast on iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, whatever your favorite podcatcher is. I use Overcast, and make sure you're subscribed not just to the audio podcast, but to the video feed as well on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/IntercutPod, where you can watch our spelunking faces, like we're uncovering. We're trying to.
What does spelunking mean, bro?
I think that's like going in the mines, right? Like that's a
Spelunking.
spelunker. Yeah, we're digging for gems. I think that's an appropriate one.
We're spelunking. The spelunkers.
You can catch us spelunkers running through the latest in entertainment. Find new episodes of the Intercut Weekend Must Watch streaming on our YouTube channel every Monday. And please leave us a comment. Like this video. Consider heading to iTunes or Spotify to give us that much requested 5-star review. Shout out to all our fans who put us on the film review podcast charts around the world. Like all of our social media pages. You can support us on Patreon or by clicking the join button on YouTube. But you can find us across social media at Intercut Pod. And those are the best ways to get updates throughout the week from Art, from Amanda, from me, from all the guests we feature here on Intercut. You can also join our Discord server using the link to it in the description of this episode. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, to all the movie studios who haven't made these movies widely available, why would you show it to me if I can't have it?
I thought it was about to go off.